our sound on our laptop, so then the sound is from the Instagram.
If you haven't tuned in before, it's where we're catching up from the electronic music industry and hearing how they're dealing with lockdown, what they're up
to. Okay. So we're live now on YouTube and Facebook.
No, they're just loading. I'll let you know when it's absolutely live.
Got it. And then let me know when I should log into the Instagram live as well. Doing my hair.
Okay, cool, we're live on YouTube. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna head over to Instagram and go live there, and then we'll kick off the talk.
Perfect. I should get a notification that you're going live on Instagram, right?
Yeah. So we're about to go live with She Said So's founder, Andreea, any minute now. So we're now in our third week of live lockdowns via IOM, where we're talking to DJs, producers, platforms, artists, who you guys nominated in our poll to find out exactly how they're innovating in the during the lockdown, and just to understand how they think the electronic scene should be innovating. And hopefully over the next 20 to 30 minutes, you guys will learn a bit more about She Said So and their founder, Andreea. So stay tuned and we will be going live. Hopefully over the next 20 to 30 minutes, you guys will learn a bit more about She Said So and Andreea. So stay tuned.
Seems like I cannot request to join on Instagram.
Okay, I'm gonna send you the request if I can. Bear with us, guys. Cool. Okay, she's joining us. Here she is.
Oh, hold on. Let me get this situated properly. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Can you see me okay?
Yes, perfect. So guys, we have the founder of She Said So, Andreea.
Hi everyone. Nice to see you. Hold on, I'm trying to make sure that you have vision.
You're clear on both screens.
On both screens. I think we're good, right?
Okay. So,
can you hear me okay?
Perfect, you sound clear, you sound perfect. So this is the founder of She Said So, Andreea. Andreea, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit about who you are, your background, and then tell us a bit about She Said So?
Sure thing. Hi everyone, thanks for having me here. My name is Andreea Magdalina and I'm originally from Romania. I lived in London for a while, which is where I got my start in the music industry and where I started She Said So. Right now I'm in LA. I've lived in LA for over 5 years, actually. I can't believe how time flew by. But yeah, I started She Said So when I was working at Mixcloud, a music streaming service coming out of London. I was a part of the team super early on, so I got the chance to be exposed to all sides of the business. It was kind of an artist relations type of role, plus social media, plus events. And so that meant that I was exposed to all sides of the music business quite early on in my career. And that's how I was able to notice from the inside what's wrong with it, at least in terms of gender representation and opportunity. So I decided to do something about it. I started She Said So as a grassroots kind of group, email group, where I invited maybe 20 or so women that I had come across in my career at that point, bearing in mind I was very young, or relatively young, I suppose, with no contacts. I was just kind of making them as I went along with the Mixcloud crew. And it was received very well because at the time there was no conversation around female empowerment or diversity in the music business. We're talking about end of 2014 here. And obviously in the meantime, things have changed massively. There are so many initiatives, so many collectives like ours fighting the good fight, which is great. The more of us, the better. The more of us are there, the more real these goals that we have will actually become, they will become a reality, basically. So it's nice to see collectives like Identification of Music caring about this and giving us a voice in your community as well.
And I guess you guys are international now. You're in so many cities. You're actually in a city that I wish I was in right now because it's currently raining in London. Where are you based?
Yeah, I'm in LA. Actually, the weather's not that great today, but generally I can't say I complain about the lack of sunshine. We have plenty of that here.
And given that you guys are based across so many cities, what various initiatives and events do you guys put on throughout the year?
We have 15 global chapters officially at the moment. A majority of them are in Europe, so we have a really strong presence in the UK, obviously, where it all started, and in Europe, particularly in Italy, France, Berlin a little bit, although we currently are reassembling the team. Spain has a big chapter as well, led by my mentor, Giorgetta Lieti, who's the head of comms at Sonar Festival. And on that note, shout out to her. I have so much to thank her for. And shout out to this concept of mentoring in the first place, which is something that we are doing a lot more of. This is in fact one of those projects that we have been developing for the past 2 years in the UK to start with, and this year we're finally ready to take it out into the world. Mentorship is a really powerful way through which young people or people coming from different industries or in different industry sectors, or people coming from communities that aren't typically represented in the music business. That's how you give access to those people in a really efficient way, by coupling them with someone who has registered some sort of success. And here too, when you're thinking mentors, you have to think beyond your traditional understanding of what a role model is. We're all used to think they need to be VPs of a big company, but they don't actually. There's so many people in the music business who maybe had a senior role at a major company at some point and then left and started their own thing. Those people are actually in some ways even more wonderful to connect with, because they've seen so many areas of the business, both independently and as part of a corporate environment. But yeah, we're doing a lot of mentoring programs this year that are really powerful. So far, we've focused on execs, but we're thinking about ways in which we can bring this concept to the artist or the creative level as well.
And the mentoring program, how does it work? Do the mentee get matched based on like skills and interests, and then how often do they contact and how do they contact?
It's a super flexible model. Actually, it took us a while to get to this point because we were refining all these different details as we went along. And we got it to a point where 2 years later, we're very comfortable running variations of it. We know kind of what are the dials we need to adjust in order to make it a successful partnership or a successful project. For example, the original model kind of looks at a 6-month time frame, and we work with a variable number of mentors and mentees depending on how much budget we have available, depending on the partners, depending on many different variables that, as I said, we adjust to come up with the optimal sort of concept together. We have a very exciting mentoring program that we're launching in a few weeks' time with a major tech company. So keep an eye out for that one, because we will be recruiting both mentors and mentees. Yeah.
Exciting. Going to be looking out for that. And so I guess, given the current circumstance that we're all in, how have She Said So been adapting? Like, I know, for example, we kind of discussed this. We would have been seeing each other in a couple of weekends' time at Ibiza Music Summit to indulge in like days of panels, but of course that's not happening. So how have you guys been adapting to ensure that you're still active and there's still content for your followers to engage in?
Well, it has been hard because we realized we were placing so much focus on events. We are a digital first community, but then very quickly we realized that in order to gel that sense of commitment and friendship between members, you really need that physical element where people come together in real life and they connect. And that's something that, no matter how advanced technology gets, is impossible to recreate. That human connection, the vibe, the energy that you exchange when you're in the same room, right? And I think you can safely say the same thing about dance floors, for example. So events were a big part of what we did, and we were going to be at IOMS, we were going to be at different other conferences and festivals this summer, so we quickly had to change plans. From a logistical perspective, we are a very agile company. We work with mostly, so we were able to adapt to the new normal, meaning we had to let go of a lot of our contractors, but at the same time, we didn't incur any debt as a result of COVID. So super grateful and lucky. In fact, today I finished writing up my Arts Council application because we want to run a mentoring program in the UK virtually for people who are, especially outside of London. These people typically don't get as much opportunity as Londoners do in the music business. So the main change that I had to make was to adapt to the virtual format and adapt our mentoring program to take place virtually through webinars. We started a bunch of live streaming sessions as well, very similar to this one that we're a part of right now. In general, we're kind of doubling down on our digital efforts and really trying to learn how to be more strategic and more efficient, and allow our message to reach more people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the live that you guys did with the tea, that was so interesting. Like,
yeah,
so informative. And I guess you, like, on an individual level, because I mean, this is an assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, as the founder, you kind of overlook as many aspects of She Said So as possible internationally. So on a personal level, how have you had to adapt? And I guess you're used to like going out, meeting people, being sociable, and how have you personally had to adapt, and what kind of techniques have you put in place to help yourself cope?
It's funny because in a way things have changed very drastically, and in a way they haven't. The way in which they changed very like in a very intense way was the lack of travel. My life over the past 2 years, especially the last year actually, since I quit my full-time employment to focus on She Said So full-time, it was always a side project for me up until last year. So I was 6 months of the year at least, I was just not home. I was on a plane somewhere, likely somewhere in Europe or somewhere in South America where we have a lot of our projects. It's been quite a shock, a pleasant one to start with, to be home for more than 2 weeks in a row. That's actually been quite nice. But at the same time, when I am in LA, when I don't travel, this is kind of what my life looks like. I work from home, from my living room, or I have, one of those co-working member club memberships around LA in case I needed human connection. Plus, yes, all the meetings. So now I've replaced all meetings, all the local meetings with Zoom video conferencing instead. But other than that, I've been working from home like this for more than a year now. So it hasn't really changed. It's just the fact that I'm actually home for more than 2 weeks at a time. That's been the biggest change, and the fact that I don't get to travel as much. But I don't want to complain. It was actually not sustainable, and I have no idea how DJs do it on an ongoing basis. To be honest, I was close to crashing.
That's a topic that has come up time and time again in these talks, and was actually going to lead me on to my next question. I guess for you, it's been quite consistent with since you quit your job and now, but your observation of the electronic scene, obviously there's been massive changes in terms of producers and DJs not being able to tour, the increase in kind of virtual parties. What changes do you think are happening that actually are benefiting the industry in terms of sustainability, being able to showcase and leverage more local scenes and communities away from the massive names that we see time and time again? What are your thoughts on that? And also, I was just going to say, guys, please comment your thoughts as well and any questions that you have for Andreea.
Well, to answer your question there, I mean, if COVID did anything to the electronic music industry, is it has exposed how vulnerable it is and how unsustainable it is, especially for the independents who rely mostly on, or medium small artists who rely on these small gigs, small but very often gigs, to pay the bills. So all of a sudden that was taken away from them. And what I see in terms of major changes in the business right now is actually it's it's not a good change. It's actually pretty scary, because the independent sector and the small and medium-sized venues and other types of stakeholders, festivals, DJs, you name it, they were already struggling. They were already forced into this unsustainable way of living and developing their projects, their events. Now this has been taken away from them altogether, and they have to adapt to the digital life, which in theory sounds easy, but in reality you have the same people who have marketing teams or are great at social media or have great personalities getting ahead, because that's what you ultimately need in the age of social media. You need to be a good marketer, which doesn't mean that it doesn't translate into talent. Actually, just because you have a dope social media profile doesn't mean you're a dope DJ or a dope festival or a dope club, right? It just means you probably have resource to actually invest in good marketing, or you have someone in your team who natively does this very well. So it's kind of an issue, actually. I'm scared for those people who aren't playing the social media game, because it, for whatever reason, whether they lack resource or it's simply not their, they don't see themselves in that way. Um, and I don't know what's going to happen. I guess COVID has just accelerated what we all knew is happening, a transition onto digital experiences. But the fact that we've all been forced in the same corner now, I think, makes it harder for people who lack digital marketing skills or access to digital marketing resources to do this very well and be able to sustain themselves through digital. Let's see.
Absolutely agree. And I was reading an article yesterday evening about the amount of music platforms, corporations, so the massive corporations, who are completely just monetizing from this whole thing, like, and essentially just exploiting the creativity of the artists who use their platforms, to reach an audience. So yeah, if you're not already at the top, you can't, it's difficult. And you know, even like having access to do live streams, like not everyone has access to these resources to be able to still participate in these things. And yeah, I think it's something we should all like think about. Absolutely. We have a question from Megan. She's asked, kind of back to She Said So. What does She Said So offer me if I were to sign up?
Say that again. What does She Said So offer?
If she was to sign up, yeah.
All right. Well, first and foremost, we offer the community itself. You will be part of our community actually lives in a Google group, which acts both as a forum and as an email group, which means once you're part of it, you won't necessarily be able to see everyone who's a part of the community, but you will have access to communicate to them in a one-to-many fashion. So if you send an email out or if you post on the forum, it's the same thing. Everyone in the community will receive that, and we have such an incredible community of women and other gender minorities, primarily women though, in the binary sense, I have to admit. So that's something we really want to work on and be more inclusive of all gender minorities. They are all so incredible. A majority of our community members are actually in medium to senior roles within their companies, or if they're creatives, they already have, they're at a certain level, they've already done some sort of work, and they are in a position where they can give back, or they can at least give to each other. We have a
my cat's just joined the chat, guys.
I love my cat so much. My husband is allergic, so I can't
come to hear about She Said So.
Exactly, she's interested, or he. Yeah, I think our most valuable asset is the community itself and the access it gives you. I mean, you will have access to people who can change your career. It's up to you to make the most of it. We come in with what we can offer is the access, and of course resources, opportunities to kind of take part in our project. All of that are comes as a bonus. The most important thing for us continues to be the community itself.
Away from, so you're doing, She Said So are doing lives, but you guys also do like mixes, so other ways that people can still engage with you online.
Yeah, I think we do too many things actually. It's kind of hard to answer the question, so what is the one thing that you do? That's why I always revert to the community answer, because ultimately everything we develop, all the projects we develop are a response to our community's needs. So yeah, we do a blog where we run all sorts of editorial content highlighting issues in the industry, highlighting women and other gender minorities who maybe sometimes slip through the cracks. We have a Spotify playlist. We have a mix series on Mixcloud. We have an annual campaign, actually. It's called the Alternative Power 100 Music List, which we typically run in March, but now we decided to run it over the summer. And in that list, we highlight, again, people who don't typically get included in these lists because they don't work at Universal, or they're not the VP, or but equally they are people who are contributing to the music industry and to their own communities in very meaningful, impactful ways. We have the mentoring program, as I said. It's a very big part of what we do. We traditionally partner with a lot of festivals and conferences to place speakers or other types of events as well, maybe smaller formats. And the way in which we work with them is to ensure that diversity and inclusion is an important topic that is not only being covered, but is being brought to life, not just through one panel that's about music, but in their entire programming, so that their entire programming is as diverse as possible. Yeah. We work with people in that capacity as well. This is kind of the gist of what we do, and then we also I suppose develop the odd sort of special project with the brand partnership, basically enhancing that brand's vision and ensuring that it's diverse and inclusive.
So there's a lot that you guys cover. So there's
So much.
so many different ways that people can get involved, and there surely will be at least one thing that speaks to someone. So hopefully that answered your question, Megan. And Megan also asked what my cat's name is. Her name's Sky, after the Isle of Skye. So another question I have for you. This is quite a big question, and I don't think there is any, well, there is no one correct answer. What the future of the scene in 2021 looks like in your eyes, and perhaps what plans do you guys have moving forward, perhaps adapting to like a new electronic scene? I don't know.
Well, it's a hard question because I think that's kind of what we're all struggling with right now, the unknown and the uncertainty of when things will come back to normal. People say, I don't think the normal, the new normal will be the same. In my opinion, the quarantine and the pandemic in general has kind of highlighted issues that we were already having, and it kind of gave us a kick in the butt to pardon my French, get our shit together and do something about it and stop wasting time on things that don't matter. So all of a sudden you see Spotify adding, you know, the fundraiser button. Same goes for Facebook. All of these features, they could, I'm sure they were on the roadmap at some point, maybe not, because they're not necessarily in the interest of the platform. They're more in the interest of the user. I honestly don't know what 2021 will look like. I was recently on a call that where people were mentioning the fact that, for example, festivals in Eastern Europe, I'm from Romania, so that's very dear to me, that's very close to me. They're still happening this summer. Sounds like it. Asia is going to open up again in the winter, so touring will actually be possible in Asia. In terms of US European tours, that's probably not going to happen until March 2021. So there's just a lot of uncertainty. It's kind of hard to predict where the industry will be in 2021. I repeat, I fear for the small, medium-sized independent sector because they were already struggling, and it's all of a sudden become even harder than before. I'm curious where the live streaming trend is going to next, because I think people are starting to be a little saturated with this kind of standard format. There will be a demand for more creative direction, for more just deeper sort of production, for a more robust digital experience, and more interaction or interactivity options from well, for fans. I hope events will still be. I imagine the whole world kind of entering a big global party when the travel restrictions and quarantine restrictions will be lifted. I personally cannot wait. I've been taking part in a lot of live streams. I've seen a lot of, you know, Beatport boiler room types of streams. But let's face it, when you go to the club, when you go to a party, you don't just pay for the DJ, you pay for the entire experience, which is what we're lacking right now. And I can't wait to experience that again. I really miss a good vibe on the dance floor.
Really. And it's just like, you know, you go to certain venues, you go to certain festivals, you go to certain party nights, because you know the vibe, you know the crowd, you know that's the time that you're going to see so and so that you haven't seen since last year. There's so much more of a kind of community reason behind this kind of, okay, we do need to get back to that. But someone's actually made a comment about in the US, a lot of festivals going online for the year, and I've seen that as well, like a lot of festivals that would have happened, doing like virtual 12-hour DJ sets and stuff like that. Jamie has also said that you're from Romania. Can you tell us a bit more like what the sound was growing up there? And I was going to also say, yes, I saw, so sun waves would have been happening now, I think, and I've seen that they pushed that to June or July. But yeah, again, that's quite a small festival. I mean, in comparison to like, you know, the massive ones like say Glastonbury or something. But yeah. But yeah, James keen to know about the sound growing up in Romania.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating actually, because I grew up a clubber essentially. You know, going out to the club has been a really big part of my growing up, my teenagehood. Even when it wasn't legal, I was still going to the club, you know, when I was 14, 15. So I grew up with tech house. I grew up with the Romanian sound. I mean, it's kind of been developing more over the past 10 years. It's not new. Maybe it is new to some people. For us, it's quite an old movement that still continues to be it, you know. And I have to admit, I love it. I mean, I love the whole Romanian sound, but I do have my problems with it. It's a very patriarchal, it's a bit sexist, you know. There's a lot of Romanian bros, but maybe only one Romanian cis who actually made it, and that's Alexandra. And even her, I feel like she could have been so much more of a household name if she had a little bit more support, because she's an extraordinary DJ and selector and just an all-round amazing human being. So yeah, there's a lot of Romanian bros. No offense to them, I love them. I think they're extremely talented. They're a bunch of, you know, architecture nerds who decided to like start making music instead of designing houses and stuff. I guess the majority of them are total nerds, you know, who are really investing in the process of making music, and they're super careful about I think one of the reasons why Sunwaves is so good is because they invest so much in the quality of the sound system as well. You know, like that's something that people in LA, when I go to these raves, the warehouse raves, they never get right. I mean, they rarely get right, and that's to me one of the most important things in your kind of live music, dance music experience, is having an incredible sound so that you can hear all the crazy things that make you have that incredible connection with the music in the first place. And you're honoring the DJ too, who puts so much work into, you know, just changing all those levels and like blending 2-3 tracks so that you can have an incredible experience that you wouldn't normally have at home. That's what you're paying for, all that, you know, attention to detail and effort. So yeah, I love the Romanian sound. I love Sunwaves. I always have a great time when I go. It's funny because it's not very diverse, and Romania is not a very progressive country when it comes down to this. But when you're at a Sunwaves or at any Sunrise event, in spite of all the bros that are around, they're all very respectful. Like I've never actually had a bad experience at any of these Romanian parties. It's weird. I don't know why everyone becomes respectful on the dance floor there, but it's quite a good vibe. And I think it's one of the reasons why it started having success outside of Romania as well, because you know, obviously the music is great, but the community built around it is also like the vibe, the crowd is also kind of cool. It feels good, it feels comfortable, it feels like you can dance forever. The sound itself, right, is inviting you to just not stop dancing. And usually when I go to a Romanian party, I don't leave for 15 hours.
No, we call it Crazy Beach. Is it called Mamaia?
Mamaia is the beach resort where Sunwaves is happening. Yeah. And Mamaia, trust me, is the most bougie. We call it cocalar. I don't know actually. When I was growing up, that was kind of the word that we used in Romania for bros. Cocalar, you know, with like their Ferraris and all that stuff, and they kind of come with their helicopter from the capital to go to the seaside. It's a bit like that. So Mamaya is not a place to go unless you're going to Sunwaves. The Sunwaves that was happening in April now is the better one, people say, in the underground scene, because it's much smaller. It only has the one Romanian stage, and yeah, music is great all around. Whereas the one that's happening in August, that's bigger, I think it has 5 or 6 stages. It's in the same place in Mamaya. They program international guests as well, but I only go to the Romanian stage anyway. That's my favorite, and I still enjoy it. I still enjoy it, even if it's more commercial and not as cool and intimate. But I know that there is also a new movement in Romania that's bubbling up. It's the post-Ro minimal era, or whatever people call it. And it's exciting. I'm quite excited. The people like Kija and Alexa Alaska and I don't know, there's a few others. I think it's still kind of, the sound still needs a little bit more work, needs a bit more maturing, but there's a new school of Romanian sound that's bubbling up right now. I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Are you an RPR girl?
I have to be. I mean, it's good. Those guys are really good.
No, they're great. Natalie's also commented saying nothing beats real life connectivity and energy. Yeah, literally sums it up. And Robbie has also asked what your favorite Romanian label is.
Romanian producer.
Record label.
Ooh, well, I'm gonna have to be a little biased here and support my friends. I'm gonna say Uvar.
Okay.
It's a record label from Constanța, which is close to Mamaia. And I think this kind of, because Sunwaves was happening in Mamaia, which is very close, it kind of gave birth to a new series of producers coming out of that town as well. And Uvar is one of the record labels that's born out of it.
We'll try and get the link up after this so people can check them out.
Yeah, it's spelled UVAR, I think. Let me just double check.
We'll get them thrown into the group. So before this catch up, I asked you a couple of musical questions. So one of the things we kind of discussed is most of our participants have been DJs or producers, except for resident advisor and you guys who are a platform. So I wanted to find out from you, Andreea, 3 things. So the first one was what your track of self-isolation is. So before I play it, do you want to tell us a little bit about the individual and the track and why it's your track of isolation?
Yes. I am being biased here because my husband is an artist manager and he works with some electronic music artists. One of them is Seb Blood, who just put out a single a couple of weeks ago, I think. Yeah, like 10 days ago. As part of his debut Essential Mix for Pete Tong. So the track is called Hazy House Volume 1. And I'm a huge fan, not just because he's my husband and my husband's artist, but I'm a huge fan of what they're doing and the curation they're working on with the 3 record labels, All My Thoughts, Church, and Coastal Haze. They have a very cool crew in South London. I'm pretty much in love with all their releases, especially those coming out on All My Thoughts.
Nice. Okay, let's give this one a listen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dreamy, spacey.
It's quite dreamy and like escapism kind of vibe.
Yeah, when it comes down to music preference, I'm quite extreme. I like the super, well, maybe not anymore, maybe not super extreme actually, but I like, the whole Detroit, Jeff Mills, underground resistance kind of mathematical techno. It's definitely my world. But then I also like the super bassliney kind of uplifting sort of sounds, like this track, for example, that you wouldn't play at 4 a.m., let's say, but maybe you start your set with. And I think that's why I think the Romanian sound sits very well somewhere in the middle of those two extremities, and why it tends to satisfy all my needs in one go.
No, I'm definitely going to have this on once the sun's back out. It's a very much a kind of chill out in the sun with a glass of something in your hand vibe. But yeah, that's great. And as you mentioned, Seb aired this in his BBC Radio 1 Essential mix. So yeah, that was an awesome mix also.
Thank you.
So the next one, which we've asked this question to every participant. I personally think it's the hardest question because, like, especially when you've been listening to so much music that informs, your ear and the sound you like, and there's so many amazing artists and producers. So we asked you what your favorite all-time dance track was. This one, I was like, yeah, this is great. But do you want to kind of tease us into what this song is?
Yeah, this song is all about love, and it's by a woman. So that's amazing, because electronic music back in the day, I guess, didn't really have a lot of female energy. So to go as far back in time as I did with this track, and to make it a woman's track, is even more important to me. It's Donna Summer. I Feel Love. It's such a staple. I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of DJs, big, small, whenever they drop that in the middle of the set, it's always good vibes.
It's so good. Right, guys, we're going to give this one a go.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with this.
So iconic.
I know. Yes. Disco appreciation moment.
It's that iconic. It's just so iconic. Like everywhere you go, I just think like it's a track that any DJ that covers or represents any spectrum of underground, from like techno to house to tech house to minimal, like this is a track you can drop in to any set at like 6 a.m.
Exactly.
And it just like absolutely goes off.
I love this. I think that's my favorite kind of music right there, that feels timeless and genre-less, and just able to move bodies and feelings regardless of what you're into, regardless of your subjective preferences and realities. And this track is definitely one of those.
Yeah, I remember as well. I think it was last year. Yeah, it was last year when there were marches. So Gideon, who runs Spot 9, puts on the sound system marches. This was before Brexit, and when it ended, this was the final track that got played. And I actually think it was Gideon who played it. And I just remember like the energy of everyone that was there was just like, you just want to get up and I want to be on a dance floor.
Yeah. It brings the generations together too. I love that, whether you're Gen Z kind of PC music fan or you're an old-timer disco fan, you can definitely see both of these people dancing together, sharing the dance floor with this kind of track on.
What you said as well, like, I'm not sure what year this song was. 1977, it says. That's like 4 decades ago.
Exactly,
yeah, like,
disco baby.
as you said, like female representation, was even less than it is now. But what you find with a lot of electronic songs that are coming out now or that are being remixed now is that there's these female and often like black female American vocalists. So like if you think like floor plans never grow old, like Aretha Franklin, and so many people don't know that's Aretha Franklin on the track, but the vocals that come out of like these American black women, and it's just powerful.
I mean, electronic music came from Black and brown communities in America and Chicago and in Detroit, right? So I feel like there is a responsibility for this music to represent those elements, because it comes from that need of having your own safe space because you weren't welcome anywhere else. So you created your own community, your own movement, your own music safe space where you can be yourself and let go and just enjoy and experience music in all its beauty. Yeah, I feel like electronic music in some ways today has lost a little bit of that, and we know that very well with the super commercial kind of Vegas type of EDM experience has introduced, has made electronic music into an industry per se, because of all the money and the ecosystem, the infrastructure, the business infrastructure that was built around a movement that was born, to be free and to be completely broken out of those chains, right? The major label chains that were back in the day in the 70s and the 60s, where we know how that whole thing worked and we know who owned those majors and where the money was actually going to, and it wasn't going to the right people. So EDM, or the commercialization of electronic music, has kind of done that all over again. So it's important to continue supporting grassroots communities like yours, like ours, to bring back that element of freedom, of independence, of being in it for the right reason. But ultimately, yes, ideally working with the business side of the industry to ensure that the people whose blood and sweat laid the foundation of the industry that others are benefiting from right now, that they too, those people also get to reap some of those benefits.
That was just so well said. I think we're going to do like a completely separate panel on this. That was really powerful. I saw a lot of hearts popping up on the side. That was really powerful. Really nice way to round up the talk, actually, I guess. I suppose one more thing for me is what are you up to over the next kind of few days and weeks in terms of working on stuff for She Said So, yourself, music-wise, etc.
Have to say I've been neglecting my self-care in spite of all the advice, because I tend to be a bit of a workaholic. So I'm hoping to do more yoga over the next few days, weeks, and go for more runs and walks, safe, socially distanced walks. In terms of work stuff, where she said so stuff, we actually, I was in the middle of working on the second edition of our annual, well, we only hosted one edition, but it was going to be an annual sort of unconference. We launched it last year in Portugal. We were going to do the second edition this year, still in Portugal, but in a different city, in Lisbon this time. So all of those plans completely changed, and I'm going to focus on figuring out what to do instead, whether we want to move forward maybe with a smaller version, because we're supposed to take place in October, so it's still kind of possible. But at the same time, international travel, I think, will be quite difficult over the next few months. People will be scared, in spite of the fact that we actually ran a survey in our community, and a majority of people, I think 75% of them, when asked the question if they're willing to travel both locally and internationally to any music industry festivals or conferences this year, 75% of them said yes. So in spite of the fear and maybe economic hit that some people took, there's still a willingness and an understanding that we have to support especially the independent events, the independent teams who worked on organizing these moments for us. So yeah, I'll be doubling down, as I said, on my digital efforts. We have a digital expert in the team now who's supporting us on that, and looking forward to maybe the beach in Mumbai at Sunwaves this August, because it sounds like it's going to happen.
Well, I might
so why not? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Andreea, it's been really nice, 50 minutes talking to you. That's just gone so quickly. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us and participating, and follow the She Said So Instagram and find out how you can get involved with them and everything that they're doing. They're a great platform, as you just heard. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Lots of love to you. Stay safe. And we're here for any collabs.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mwah. Bye, everyone.